Hey loves, hope you're having an amazing day and a very happy Easter. Welcome back to Jazzy's Journey. So today I wanted to talk about just release, not holding back. I really am so tired of holding back in my life, and I'm really ready to go to a different level, but I honestly can't do that if I'm still holding on to things from my past. So I really wanted to just get some things out there, and not for people to really, feel sorry, but I know there are people that might have gone through some of the things that I went through, or are currently, or maybe even go through in the future, to kind of just to tell my story a little bit, when I was talking to some people about starting my channel and the reason while I wanted to do it, they're like, what? You don't look like you ever even went through anything. And that's because I'm super good at putting on a brave face, just pretending like everything is perfectly okay, and not really dealing with situations and, just issues, and kind of just keeping things all to myself. And I think it's really, finding out that it's really unhealthy to keep everything to yourself. I would literally drive myself crazy trying to, just figure everything out on my own. And sometimes you need an outside perspective, or someone to, just let you know that things aren't as bad as you think that they are, So for those of you who don't know, my name is Jasmine Jones. I'm 27 years old. I was born in Pasadena, California, but raised in the Antelope Valley, Lancaster, Palmdale area. And I was raised by a single mother. My parents weren't together, My dad ended up getting deported back to El Salvador when I was about 3, but they weren't really together anyway, so that wasn't a big deal for me, because my mom was awesome, and I had my grandparents that spoiled me and just gave me everything as a little kid. And but it was when my grandmother passed away when I was 8, and we were really close, so that was kind of devastating for me as a kid. So I really believe that that's a huge reason why I am very slow to open up to people. I don't really let people in to get to know me, and I kind of just put a wall up, a barrier. Those people that do know me know I'm very shy in the beginning, or quiet. I wouldn't say that I'm shy, but I'm quiet in the beginning until I feel like I can trust you and I'm comfortable being myself around you. Then I, let myself come out a little bit, little by little. But, just really slow to open up and trust people. So after that happened, I kind of just didn't want to deal with it, because it hurt so much that I just blocked out that entire part of my life. So I really don't remember too much from my childhood. But I hear that I had at least. It wasn't until a few years later that my mom actually ended up getting married, and just not going into a lot of detail, but some of the things that we had to deal with for years was, he ended up being a liar, a cheater, a manipulator, had to witness domestic abuse, violence, a lot of violence growing up at home. And from that, I just had the smartest mouth and the worst attitude ever, and I just did not want to deal with this person. So I would always get in trouble. So I was taught to be quiet and not say anything, not to talk back. And so pretty much, if you guys know the phrase, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Well, I never had anything nice to say, so I was quiet most of the time, and a lot of people thought that I was shy, and I'm like, no, I'm just, you don't want to hear what's going to come out of my mouth. So I knew anytime I opened my mouth that there was going to be drama and there was going to be an issue. So I chose not to deal with that, and I taught myself to just be quiet. Okay, one of the ways I did this was, it was so hard. So I literally, in order to teach myself to be quiet, like, I would just cry. Like, if someone's talking to me, like, I will just cry, and it's not because you're hurting my feelings. It was because I'm just really frustrated, and I'm really just trying not to go off on you right now. So that was really the point that it had got to, and I'm still working on that right now, my communication skills. But yeah, so it was just a very strict household. Wasn't really allowed to do anything growing up. Wasn't really allowed to have friends or go out and do things. I was constantly in the house. I had to always take care of my little sister, and I felt that was really unfair as a 12-year-old. I'm like, I did not have a kid. I shouldn't have to raise someone else's kid, because my mom was working, and my stepdad was off doing whatever he was doing. But I was stuck raising someone else's child. Also, just being left alone at home all the time. I had to deal with being molested by one of my cousins for years, and I just never said anything because I knew that I would never be believed and that I would end up getting in trouble for it. I just didn't want to get in trouble, so I just felt like I had no control over my life. So as a teenager, I honestly used to cut myself. I seriously still have some scars on my wrist. I used to just want to see how much that I would bleed, because I thought that was the only thing that I could control in my life. And so I think it's really unhealthy for people to keep everything bottled up and not have someone that they can trust to talk to help, guide them. So 18, 19, I was just super ready to get out of that house and go off on my own. So I had started working, and I ended up getting into a relationship with a guy that turned out to, kind of do some of the same things, just lying, cheating, manipulating, and, just being really mentally abusive, mostly. So it was kind of hard. And then around that same time, my parents were getting separated, and we also lost our house. My grandfather passed away, so we ended up losing our house. My mom had got injured at work. She used to work at the post office, but she hurt her ankle to the point where it started messing up her back, and she couldn't work a normal job, so she didn't really have that income coming in. And with my stepdad leaving, he was part of the one taking care of, a lot of the bills. We were left not really having a lot of options, and we actually struggled with dealing with having a stable place to live, for a while. We were homeless for a few years, and just struggling, living out of abandoned houses and our motorhome. I was staying in my car for a while and still going to work, putting on a happy face. Like, if you looked at us and you saw us, like, you could not tell that, we were homeless, and we weren't doing as well as we should have been doing. And also, just during that time, a few years ago, I ended up getting pregnant while living in my car and just being in this not the best situationship, not even a relationship, just a situationship, and just working. Ended up getting an abortion, and I wasn't really, again, close to too many people. Like, I would tell some people some things about me, but there was never one person that felt like I could trust telling everything to. So I just kind of suffered in silence with all of my issues. I felt like nobody cared about what I was going through because everybody deals with things. So why do I have to go tell people my situations? We're all dealing with something, right? So, but, it kind of, in the beginning, it was, it wasn't that hard. It wasn't until later on down the line that it really started getting to me. Actually, last year when, no, you know what? It was 2 years ago. So 2 years ago when I had went to a business convention with my job in Indiana, and it was just so amazing. And, while I was there, I had got this just huge vision of my life and the things that I was supposed to be doing, and, just helping so many other people. And, it was so amazing while I was there. But coming home, getting back, looking at myself and my situation at that point, I wasn't working. I had just lost my car. I spent like all my money getting to this event, just starting from ground zero again with my business, and looking at myself like, how am I going to do these big things and these big dreams that I have, looking at the person that I am and everything that I've been through. I was like, it's not adding up. Like, I don't think that I could do it. So there was so, much going on and through my head. And I just got really depressed, and I started remembering all those things from my past that I had, kind of just blocked out and just left in my past, And I was like, man, how am I going to do this? And suffering from depression, I started getting really bad anxiety. I had bad insomnia, couldn't sleep. So, and for a while I was struggling with, pornography, and honestly, I feel like a small sex addiction. So for me to find peace, I turned to, marijuana, and that was like the only thing that really gave me peace and helped me to not focus and be able to focus on, okay, what I need to do, and stop thinking so much about my past. It was like when I was stagnant, like when I'm not moving, that was something that got me up and at 'em and able to get out of the house and actually try and do something. But about a year ago, I started going back to church, and I was just trying to get my head together and figure things out. Like, okay, this is really what I want to do, but how am I going to do it being the person that I am? And so I started actually learning. What I did was I started going to Wednesday night services at my church, and that really started helping me more because it was more of a teaching, and it was more in a way that you could understand, in a way that was relatable to you and your personal experiences. So I was like, oh, because I would go on Sundays and I really wouldn't get too much, I would take a little bit from it, but I really wasn't getting, what I felt that I needed. Like, I would go and I wouldn't feel any different. So I went and I started actually reading my Bible more, and I know it may sound like crazy, like I would read my Bible when I was high, and it made so much more sense to me. I'm like, oh my God, like I can actually read it. And that was the only time that I could, see my vision clearly. And but I felt like a hypocrite, still going to church, still, not being the best person and still doing this. I just never wanted to be judged. I hate the feeling of being judged, which is why I always just kept things to myself. So just going to church, struggling. I started learning a little more and more and more. And again, I know I said this in one of my other videos, but after I watched that service of Grace Like a Flood from Transformation Church, it really, really helps me to start, having a different perceptive and looking at things differently. And it's like, okay. So I started going, and little by little, things just started falling off. I didn't have the desire to do the things that I used to do, like pornography, for example. That was one of the things that I would have to do in order to fall asleep, because my mind would just be racing so much. I needed something to clear my mind, to not think about anything in order for me to fall asleep. Because again, like I said, just that insomnia, my mind was just racing, thinking of everything and anything, my past, my future, what I wanted to do, and where I was at was always conflicting. So just little by little, I started getting better. I started reading more. I started getting more active in my church and doing different things. So I said, okay, God gave me a vision of where my life is supposed to be. And so I had to accept where I was at and understand that it's not going to happen overnight, that it's probably going to take a while in order to get here, but it is going to come. So I needed to start making changes. I needed to start getting better. And so I started, reading. I started, the business that I was doing is majorly mental, and my mental was so messed up that I couldn't focus right, and I couldn't do what I needed to do. So I had to start working on myself. So between just going to church, reading my Bible, actually starting to build that relationship with God, and actually listen and do what I was supposed to be doing, just living in my purpose and actually having something to live for. So I was like, okay, I need to start getting my stuff together. He said, you need to start a YouTube channel. And I said, you're crazy. I don't even like talking to people. I'm really quiet. I don't think that's the best idea. But I started realizing that other people were going through a lot of the things that I was going through, and it's so hard to talk about things while you're going through it. A lot of people talk about, their past and how they struggle with depression, and I know a lot of people don't understand it if they haven't been through it. They think that, oh, you're just crazy and you can just wake up the next morning and it'd be perfectly fine, that you're just making things harder than it actually is. But yeah, and also people don't really relate to someone if you haven't been through something. You can't really teach other people how to do it. So I feel like I've just been through so much in my life, and everything that I've been through is an opportunity to help someone in those areas, to, be there and help them and guide them a little bit. So I'm going to break down everything probably in separate videos because it's so much to go over in one. But the main one was God wants to use my life as a testimony of what it looks like when you're actually living in your purpose. The moment that I started my YouTube channel, I was super anxious. I'm gonna be honest, this is the first one that I've actually done sober, and I know it's still all crazy messed up. I was just like, I know it's probably all over the place, but when I first started, I was super, super anxious. The only way I could get the things that I wanted to say out was to have to smoke. And then, everything flowed smoothly. Then, that was the only time, like I said, that I could really see my vision and what I was supposed to do. But from the moment that I started my channel, made my first video, because God said, I want your life to be a testimony. I want people to see, and I need someone that's still going through it. Like, who can be that person that can talk about something while they're still going through it? You know, it's easy to talk about, you know, once you're perfect and your life is so amazing and happy, right? But I need someone that's still going through it and can teach people and show people what it looks like when I touch them. So the moment it took me a while too to get my first video up, like at least 4-6 months of me like, okay, how am I gonna do it? What am I gonna say? It needs to be perfect. But the moment like that I actually did it and actually got one up, like things just started coming together into my life, you know. I had an opportunity, you know, I wasn't working. I was just, again, super depressed. I started donating plasma to just get a little extra income. You know, I was doing that and I was making more money. And then I was like, man, this isn't enough. You know, I thought I could do that and still do my business, but I still wasn't ready mentally. So he gave me another opportunity. I started doing more videos and he gave me another opportunity because the way I got this job was nothing but God. Let me explain to you the story of how I got the job that I'm working at now, because it was like nothing but God the way that I did it. But so my ex had ended up getting out of jail and I was like, I just really don't want to deal with him. So he told me I needed distance. So I started applying for jobs and I really didn't want to get a job because I felt like I was giving up on my business. But I said, you know what, maybe this is something that I need to do so I can focus and get my, you know, mindset a little bit better first. So I applied for this job, not even wanting to. And like the same day, they sent me like information and like, oh, fill this out, come in. I called, I set up like an interview, I guess, for like the next day. And then I found out it was like in Mission Hills and I was like, I don't have a car. How am I going to get out there? I called them to tell them like, you know, I can't take it because it was in Mission Hills. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to get to Mission Hills every day. I don't have a car. This is not going to work. I thought it was in Santa Clarita. It said like Santa Clarita, Valencia. Because I have family that stays out there. I can just stay out there and figure out a way to get to work from there. And they're like, oh, no, it is. It's just the main office is out here. So I was like, okay. So I rescheduled it for the next day. And I went to the interview and I filled everything out and passed everything, flying colors, you know, for my resume and the different jobs that I used to work at. So I ended up getting the job. The guy was like, oh, we have these positions. I was like, I don't really like that. I don't really want to do that. And then this one position came up and I was like, that one seems interesting. They're like, okay, well, you need to do an interview with this one. So it's not going to start, you know, immediately. We got to see. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Because I honestly didn't really want to work. So I was like, oh, yeah, that's fine. You know, we'll see what happens. Set it up. So he's like, okay. Going over the qualifications with me, looking at my resume. He's like, okay, so I'm going to help you out. I don't do this for everyone. But I'm going to help you doctor up your resume so it looks better when they give you a call for an interview. And I was like, all right, cool. So I had all the skills, but, you know, I didn't have it professionally worded. You know, he made it look all beautiful and pretty, right? So he sent my resume off to them, my updated one. And he was like, okay, that was a Friday. He was like, no, like a Thursday or Friday. He was like, okay, I'm going to send it off to them. And we're going to wait and see, you know, when they get your resume. So they got it. It was that Friday. And I was like, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, I know you'll make it happen, that I'll get it. You know, if not, then good job. So I was hoping that I didn't get it because I just didn't want to work. But so they called me like that Monday and they're like, oh yeah, they want to do an interview with you. But the main person right now is like in Chicago, so can we do a phone interview? So I was, you know, just babysitting my siblings that day. I wasn't really doing anything. I was like, oh yeah, that's fine. They're like, can you do it in a couple hours? Like at 11, I was like, yeah, I'm not doing anything. So they called me, I did the interview, they liked me, and they're like, okay, well, now we are going to have to do another interview for, you know, the hiring manager. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So he ended up being in Texas at that time. So they called me back a couple hours later, and they're like, can you do another a phone interview in a couple of hours? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I did the two. And the same day, they really liked me. They're like, okay, well, we're gonna let you know. So, like, by the end of the day, the next morning, they're like, okay, you got the position. I was like, oh wow, that was fast. So it was literally a couple days. So like, okay, that was the week of Thanksgiving. They're like, it's a little crazy right now with Thanksgiving, so, you know, the following Monday you can go ahead and start. And I was like, oh wow, okay. So I had went down to my aunt's house for that Thanksgiving, and I was like, well, let me see where it's at, so that way I know how to get there and I'm not lost on Monday trying to find it, right? So it turned out being literally around the corner from my aunt's house, like 5 minutes. I can walk there. And I didn't have a car, so that was really good, right? So I could literally walk to my job. I was like, oh wow. So yeah, this was nothing but God. So I had asked my aunt, I was like, can I stay with you while I, you know, start working? Because it's out here, it's right around the corner. She's like, oh yeah, that's fine. So yeah, so I started staying at my aunt's house during the week, because I'm like, I don't have a car, so I can't go back and forth, you know, every day back to Palmdale. So I started staying out there, and then I would catch the train, you know, back on the weekends. So I was like, man, I just need a couple checks, like $500. I can get like a car, right? And then I'll be straight, and I can actually start driving again. So my aunt had actually been in the process of refinancing her house for like the past year, and she was like getting worried, like there's some complications coming up. I don't know if I'm gonna get it. She was stressing out. I don't know if it's gonna, you know, go through or not. I've already started making plans for this money. She was going through the process of trying to get her refinance going. I started working, and literally like the first couple days that I was working there, because technically I was supposed to be just a temp filling in for someone, they offered me like a permanent position. I'm kind of like, I don't know if I want it, because I really, you know, want to do my business, but that's awesome that like they really liked me that much. So I was offered a permanent position at my job. My aunt ended up getting her refinance. So I was looking at the cars that I wanted, like the little cheap ones that I was gonna get for like $500. Yeah, they were all buckets and raggedy. So the ones that I saw that were like at least decent, that I didn't have to fix right away, were like $2,000-$3,000. So she ended up getting her refinance. She let me get like $3,000 to get a car. So I did that, and then, you know, just everything has just been taken. But honestly, the day before I started working at my new job, I tried this new church out, because I had been talking to them for a while. They were reaching out to me like, oh, you should come to the church, check it out. And I was like, okay. So I went, and it was just so amazing. I left there feeling so great. I was like, there's people here that they actually pour life into you. God had told me in private, like, you can really see this coming from someone else's perspective. So this is not just me thinking that I'm crazy. This is something that I'm really supposed to do. And just so much favor and blessing has come, you know, since the first day that I walked into, you know, this church. And I recommend that everybody comes, because I'm actually they offer me to start working with the youth. I'm going to be working as, you know, one of the youth ministers with the church. We just got a bigger church, and I had honestly started, you know, trying to piece things together and figure it out at the church that I was at. And I felt bad, because I grew up going in that church, you know, going to somewhere else. But the things that, you know, God had intended me to do weren't really lining up with, you know, the vision that they had. And I come to this new place that's already working in things that I wanted to do. And I was like, man, this is it. So before, you know, God will send you a vision, and you think that, oh, it's supposed to happen today, right now, let's go. like, until you have that confirmation in man and you have that plan lined up and people that you need to back you up, you can't really do it. So I'm so excited for everything that's coming, because I know there's just nothing but greatness and blessings coming. Just moral of my story is, it doesn't matter, you know, where you come from or what you've been through, you know, you can do something amazing in your life, you know. And if you're living in your purpose and you know what you're supposed to be doing, God's gonna provide for you. He's gonna make a way and give you favor. I'm so blessed and so excited for what's to come, because I know there's nothing but greatness coming, and we're gonna accomplish everything that he told me. Just watch what's gonna happen. I actually am super excited to say that I got rebaptized today and just completely washed away of everything from my past and just getting a fresh start. And I cannot wait for the amazing things that are. Phone died, but just wrapping it up with this. Definitely come check us out at Kingdom Builders. I'm going to put everything that I mentioned down in the information about the videos that I watched, the different ministries that I'm working with, where to find me at on social media. And I just really thank you guys for coming on this journey with me, and I'm so excited for what's to come, not just for me and my life, but, you know, for our community, and just to, you know, reach the purpose that I'm supposed to be in. And it's just gonna be amazing. So continue to watch. If you guys have questions, comments, just let me know what you guys thought, maybe if ideas about what my next video should be, or questions, or something that you just, you know, want to hear from me. I would really love to, you know, get your feedback. So let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I will talk to you guys next time.
From licking like a faucet, almost cost me everything that I got. All of my fam, part of the plan. I was eating fried bologna out of the pan. Y'all don't understand. I was trying to get it. I'm in that studio trying to keep it pushing. Patty pies, boy, I kept them cooking. All I needed was the Mary, but the God in me was having commentary. I got angels all around, like I need a baker. Blessings falling in the line, guess I need a taper. And every loss is a lesson. Tell my haters I confess. Treat them like the green bubbles on my iPhone. I probably never read the message. If I ever took a loss, I learned a lesson. I won't ever think I'm better.